Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Goodcast Show. So my guest today is an award-winning creative director of an advertising agency. He started out as a co-creator of Malaysia's first English comic book, Heroines of Darkness, and a children's book writer, before publishing a compilation of short stories titled Get Spooked, Terrifying Tales Untold. In 2022, he published Abandoned Gods, and a year following that, he completed his latest novel, Horror He Wrote. Today we'll be discussing his book, Abandoned Gods, a book that I have read and I love. It's a very fast-paced book focusing on the lore and traditions and legends of a very beautiful state in Malaysia called Sarawak. So without further ado, please welcome my guest, Mr. Tan Jit Seng. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Vinod. Good morning, everyone.
Thank
you for having me here. I'm really honored to be. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for making it. So before we start, just want to know the book is Abandoned Gods, and you can get it on Gerak Budaya website. It's on sale now, so I'll be leaving the links on all for this book in the description. So if you guys want to get a copy, it's a really lovely book. It opened my eyes to a lot of things from ancient times, I guess, these ancient beliefs and superstition, and you could call it a system of belief in Sarawak, which I had no idea, even though I spent 5 years there. I had no idea about this. But so Jit Singh, how did you come about? I mean, why did you decide to write this book?
Oh, I think I was fated to write a book. You see, I came across actually in an article from, I don't know whether it's New Straits Times or The Star, and there was this story about this mother tracking the dark interiors of Sarawak, carrying a child on her back, and all the way. And I felt so sad because at that time there wasn't any hospital there back then. I said, wow, pitiful, carrying the sick child all the way from a remote village to the Kuching Hospital. And that's it. And I thought to myself, there is a story in there, because it reminded me of one legend, Chinese legend, if you're aware of it, Vinod.
No.
Journey to the West, where you said this Sun Wukong, and then they carry all the way, they trek all the way to India to get these sutras. So I thought, wow, along the way, they met all manners and of those demonic creatures, entities. Then I thought, that concept sounds very familiar, because the Dayas in Sarawak and Sabah, they have legends as well. And so why not I introduce them to the public?
Definitely.
And that is why I brought all those ancient gods, all those beliefs from their old legend, that Kaharingan faith. I brought it all back to life in this book.
Now, interestingly enough, when I was talking to people at Gerak Budaya, as I mentioned to you, I was under the assumption that you were from Sarawak, because this book is entirely based on Sarawak legend, right? And Sarawak, you could say, mythology, if you will. But you're not. You're from JB.
Yes,
You're
I'm from
a
Johor Bahru, born and bred.
raised. Okay.
Born and bred and raised in Johor Bahru. You see, I'm very, very lucky to have Sarawakian friends from East Malaysia, and they told me stories that intrigued me. Stories of old even from the era of hate hunters. So I thought there was plenty of legends, and then I realized that not many people knew about it, and I said, why not? It's such a waste.
Definitely.
Let's make it, celebrate their culture, celebrate their history, their legend.
Yeah, definitely.
That would be fun.
That would be fun. It is. It is a very fun read. But how did you? I mean, this writing this book must have taken time. You must have had to research a lot, because, I mean, the names in this book, the characters, they are all actual gods in the belief system.
Yes, I'm not ashamed to announce that it took me 10 whole years to complete this book. Yes, it is. Yes, it's been that long. Because the first 3 years, it was all research. And because, Vinod, I wanted to push my writing beyond. So what better way than to write another person's culture, something I don't know about. Luckily, I have friends. So they told me stories, and I was so intrigued. I said, okay, let's push this. So for the first 3 years, I made research, and it overwhelmed me. Vinod, it overwhelmed me. I said, my God, the culture it's so rich, and I say, am I doing justice to it? I start questioning myself. Oh my God, am I embarrassing that? But I have to apologize if I do anything less. But I say, I think this is something that I felt that I should write about it. And I wrote that the first 3 years was terrible. Then I abandoned it. Unfortunately, I abandoned it for 7 whole years. Then by accident, I logged onto my computer and I saw this old file. I said, "Oh, what is this? Abandoned God." There's memory. So I read it, and I felt that it wasn't half bad. It was just I was just being too hard on myself, and I wrote it in. After 7 years, I wrote it just within a span of like 3-4 months. Completed the whole entire thing. The characters know where they want to go, and I know that, and I just basically write the way they would have like journeyed in their own legend itself.
So just so everyone watching, the story revolves around a mother, son, Nira and Aji, who are basically traveling from an interior jungle through a jungle because Aji is not well. In the start of the book, he's very unwell, and so the mother is trying to get him to Kuching General Hospital. But of course, there are a lot of and this entire journey is centered around a sort of war between the gods.
Correct.
And also, there's also a very important prophecy that takes place.
Correct.
And it's good versus bad. It's very thing. But the thing that I find amazing is that in your research, did you feel that? Do you find this similar sort of faith or system of belief in Peninsula? Especially around, with the Orang Asli communities and all that? Or is this something this faith is unique to Sarawak and Sabah?
No, it's also to Peninsula as well because the Daya has got many sub clans.
Okay.
So I borrowed some from the Iban, the Kadazan Dusun, Malanao, and all those things. So I merged into this, and so some of those characters are those characters, the villains, so-called villains, represented certain big characters. But those were really created, so they represent. So they were like in insectine form, and along the way they met stories of these ghosts. Even some Peninsula fellow Malaysians from Peninsula Malaysia also knew about it. Like when I mentioned, say, there will be like bunsu, antu, animal spirits. I know about that. Say, so you know about antu, utai, tumboh then? Plant spirits. They knew. I said, then what about hantu gerasi? Yes, those are the headless ghosts. They said, so headless ghosts. So I should set this story during the head hunting era.
Okay.
So I made it. So it was really, really old.
Really old. Now, again, because I would think that in the entire Malaysian space of literature, I think Sabah and Sarawak are pretty much underrepresented.
Definitely.
Very underrepresented.
And I'm very honored to represent them.
yes. And I'm sure they will be too. But how has the response been from that community to your book?
They supported me. That a lot of sales came from there.
Okay.
I'm very pleased that they supported. For a moment, I was, to be honest, Vinod, I was a little worried because I thought somebody's going to come back. Hey, that's cultural appropriation, huh? Yeah, you're borrowing something that you are not.
You JB man, you.
Then you know what I was thinking? Say, hey, not really, because cultural appropriation is more of a Western concept.
Yeah.
In Malaysia, we celebrate each other's culture. So I thought, say, maybe they don't know about cultural appreciation. So I appreciate. Say, no, it's just, for example, even this, I must do a shout out to this Tunku and this Mona. She did the Chinese one, and I thought it was marvelous. Called Rain Town. I thought it was marvelous. Rain Town.
Okay.
Susan Lancaster was in it, and I thought it was wonderful. They said from Malay to do a Chinese movie, and I've seen Chinese like Adrian Tay. He did Malay movies as well. I said, cultural appropriation is a Western concept. For instance, in Malaysia, we live harmoniously, and they say it is cultural appreciation. Right? Anyone, you're Malaysians. We celebrate each other's cultures.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
But if I'm not mistaken, I think in Kedah, Kedah or Perlis, I think it's Kedah if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about this, but I think early on there was also such law there as well. But of course, with the entrance of Islam into Malaysia and all that, this sort of belief systems were sort of put aside, as you say, abandoned.
Totally abandoned.
But when I stayed in Sarawak, although Christianity is very big in Sarawak, right, especially among the tribes and all that, but they still hold on to some of these ancient, you could say, superstitions.
Correct.
Right. So in your research, how important or how prevalent are these superstitions still today in their community? Because like you talk about the headless skulls when in Iban community, they always hang it in their house and all that stuff. How important is it now?
I don't think it's that important because they've embraced another faith, and they embrace it and they celebrate in it and they live in it. The other is just like a distant memory. It's just like a distant memory, something from the past of their forefathers and all. I don't think it affect much because I talk about this Kaharingan faith to one of my colleagues, and she said they don't really remember this anymore, except their grandfathers, their grandmothers, and they told stories like that. Even though they are Christians, and they came back and they say, well, they do understand those things, but they no longer emote to it because times have passed. And I say, well, that's just the nature of life. Life moves on.
No, like as I said earlier on, one thing that stands out about your book is the title. And I was telling you, how I found this book was, as I was telling you, just want to share with the listeners as well. When I was at the Gerak Budaya bookstore, and I was walking and I saw this, I said, "Abandoned Gods." My God, such an amazing title, such an eyebrow raiser, if you will. Why did you go with this title?
Again, I would say I will point it to fate because I was walking. I had this premise of this story already, but I didn't have a title. And while I was walking, contemplating, thinking, what title should I put? Because title is among the hardest one. It has to be catchy, it has to be punchy, it has to be riveting. And I came across a huge old tree with abandoned altars, with all those statues at the foot of that big tree. And for strange reason, I was overwhelmed by sadness and said, wow, a god that has been worshipped, those gods have been worshipped, cherished, and now they're just abandoned like that. And this theme of loss, care, blood and tears, I thought this should color my book. This should be the main theme for my book. It's about loss and loyalty. It's about old beliefs versus the new ones. Well, I much both fantasy and old legends and new creations to merge them together.
Lovely.
Thank you.
A lovely way you have put them all together. I've read a few books like this, but they use like Hindu stories, and then they sort of morph it into they sort of tweak it to suit modern sensibilities. So it's very nice. Especially you can for those of you who read the book, the journey of Nira is really amazing. How she loses her husband, she meets another antu.
Libao, legend. I'm sure Sarawakians and Sabah, they will know who Libao is.
What's it called? Antu pantang. Is it
Hantu pantang. The two ghosts.
Yeah, the two ghosts. So before we get into the book and my question about the book, I want to do a bit of get your definition on some of the words that are ancient to me, and I'm sure it'll be alien to especially West Malaysians. Let's start with the first one. What is bunsu patara?
Bunsu patara is one of the highest, the most high, the god. Bunsu patara is a god of God. It's like Zeus,
Okay.
It's something like Zeus, and under him has got like the Senggala Burong and all the other gods. Manjikal, the god of healing. The main one was Senggala Burong, which I'm sure because it's associated with the the hornbills.
Yes.
So he has got these legends, and then he has got these birds that do his biddings, give prophecies, omens, and sometimes they say they get the bird whisperer, and they'll some of the old shamans, all the dukuns, in that they'll create the ritual, they'll reenact the ritual, and the birds will come. Maybe by sounds, and the birds will come and they will sing to them, and then from there they will decipher the omens.
Wow.
Yes, and different birds will portend different omens. Like there's the kingfisher, and there's the jumbo, and there's plenty of those fish, those birds, and they somehow they are able to communicate in their state of trance. Then they're able to communicate with the birds, and the songs they say, whether the light of day or night or things like they portend certain hints.
Okay. And I think that is the story that starts the book.
Correct.
Yeah, where the
Correct.
birds come in, the omens, and then she creates a necklace with all the feathers, right?
Correct.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, next one. What is the badara ceremony?
The badara ceremony is actually, I think even a lot of cultures, in Indian cultures and in Chinese cultures, also they have badara, but they just don't call badara. It's like appropriation to the gods. Sometimes they're offering. Let's just say they want to do a berjalai ceremony. They say they wanted to leave their village to something else, and they want a smooth journey. They don't give they will probably beseech gods like probably like Seng and they'll give like offerings, but there are offerings, appropriate offerings, so that they will be blessed. And I think in Indian cultures and in Malay cultures, we do have as well. Even Chinese, they will offer this thing. They will beseech the gods and to ask for favors, for boons, and for blessings. Yeah, definitely. So that's the badara ceremony.
Now, in this book, there are talks about the 7 ancients.
Those, that's very strange. Those gods under bunsu patara, that's the most high. That God is the father of all gods, and under him has got Senggala and all the gods of healing, the gods of war. So this one they form the 7 ancients. Ancients, okay. Yes, but I corresponded with another one, the villains. My story was another 7 ancients. Okay. That one came from the bunsu antu animal spirits. So each of them. So you imagine these are the evil ones who have meditated in the forest for thousands of years and have taken human forms. And they basically. They could take, they're actually demons that could mask themselves as humans, and they have magical powers because accrued from millions of years, even before the gods walked the earth. Okay. So they have this power. So these are the dark ones. Okay. Yes, who take and then there's a witch among them in this book. But sorry, go on. Yeah. Yes. So these are the ones. So they suddenly these 7 decided. To start a war, and with a bunsu with a antu, utai, tumboh, with the plant spirits. How these plant spirits are built with this, the hoodok masks. They are the very famous. All those hoodok masks. So I interpret it as these are the hoodok masks of power. So each power for each tree, different trees have different powers. So they want this mask. So they want to start a war, and guess what? There's also another one. They say the hantu gerasi, the headless ghost, also came into the picture. So there was a tripartite war, aeons, a war that was aeons in the making. All these 3. So Nira and a hapless child got caught in the middle of all these. But later on, as if you read the book, the child becomes the child became the tree whisperer on the side of the hantu utai tumboh, and Nira herself accrued more powers because of the hantu pantang itself. The hantu pantang is the one those people who actually who gave marks of power onto the skin. So imagine that she underwent a ritual, and this the legend has it that this the first person who did it for Ganda came and gave her a tattoo, and that tattoo was the scorpions. Kala Jenking. So those centipedes and everything, and they also had that, and she could use those tattoos to save herself. Exactly. So this woman is considered very powerful. Okay. Very powerful. So not only she has those the feathers of woman, the 7 feathers of woman, she also has this tattoo, gifted with this tattoo from this so-called bunyan group, and the one who gave blessings to the dayas. So they gave them that tattoo. Oh, she needs all the power she can get. She needs all the blessings she got. Because the 7 ancients were really terrible people, terrible monsters, terrible entities. Okay. The 7.
Now, another part that shocked me in this book is that there is a mention of dragons. Right. Okay, now, dragons, for example, in Indian culture, dragons don't exist. In Chinese culture, they are very, very important. Of course. I was surprised to hear that in East Malaysia, because even West Malaysian law, I don't think that you can find dragons, but East Malaysian law you have. And even you name the child that Nira has with Libao, her second child, Naga. How important are dragons? I mean, how do they feature in East Malaysian culture?
All right. They have this legend that the creation started because this dragon and this so-called bird, which is so similar to Chinese cultures. The dragon, the long and the phoenix.
Yeah.
They had this war, and then they had this war, and they started killing each other, and there was this war, and somehow the elements got mixed, and it started creation. The legend itself. It's very strange,
Yeah.
They say it's very, because this legend about dragons and phoenix, they were made as a pair. Later on, when their elements merged and they started creation.
Okay.
Oh, that was very interesting. I said, so it's very Chinese as well, isn't it? They say that's the dragon, that's the phoenix. Only just call it different thing.
Okay. So that means the dragon and the phoenix are also in Eastern culture.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. That's
I didn't know that, and when I made the research, and some friends told me, said, isn't that Chinese? No, apparently in Dayaki's law, they also have this. Strange. I said, so and they have also this culture that they actually left heaven and to make Earth their home, and how they disperse, how the Dayak people disperse. So I said, so leaving Eden, huh? So I said, what are all those cultures? They have some strange similarities.
Of course, it's nice to see that it's sort of it's indicative of how cosmopolitan or how influenced we are from one another. It's sort of a uniting factor as well.
Also, they have this so-called mother goddess who came and led the Dayak down on earth, and I think this one, I don't know whether they still know this character called Tete Tatum.
Yes, I wanted to ask you about that. Yeah,
that's Tete Tatum. That's the person who came out from heaven and brought them all to earth, and the Dayak people dispersed all over Borneo because of her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Her sounds a bit like Guan Yin.
a little bit.
Yeah. Now, speaking of which, I mean, in this book, there is a mention of creation, heaven, and hell. So I was surprised because I would say my layman understanding of ancient system of beliefs, they are more connected to superstition and all that, right? But this one seems to indicate that the belief system had, like what we practice now, there's heaven, there's hell, and all that. How? I mean, could you, based on their faith, what is the description of heaven and hell?
Okay. It seems that is this. They have also plenty of heaven. This is Tansang Kenyalang. That is the heaven under Senggala Burong. They also have different names for it. So. Then below, because the gods ascended to heaven as well after their time on earth, so they ascended heaven as well. But way before that, they also have created this kind of hell underneath, and those are the so-called the spirits of the lesser god. So they were all down there, and they had this war. It seems like the Indian culture also has this, right? They have the devas and the asuras.
Yeah, yes.
It seems that the stories, if you go, they all have shared similarities, which I find very interesting. It's like the stories of how the devils and the asuras they fought over they churn the milk.
The sea, to get the milk of the sea, the milk of the universe.
So they have this as well. I'm really surprised, that they have this. So they have this so-called fighting good, the good fighting the evil for since time immemorial. They've been having this concept of good and bad, and these races, the celestial races, that are always at the war.
How old is this system of belief, this faith?
It's no longer practiced, but I do believe it existed as long as early as the early Dayaks.
Early Dayaks.
Yes.
Okay.
There were also some dark gods as well. I mean, in the family, it's just like the Greek legends.
Yeah.
They have the good ones and they have the bad ones. Although I don't consider like Hades as a bad one. I don't really consider that as a bad one. He's just one of the brothers.
Brothers, yeah, who manages hell, right?
Yeah, and he got the short end of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, there is mention of the ancient ones who ascended to heaven after bunsu patara came. In the book, there is this line. I'm paraphrasing. So then I was reading. I was like, wait a minute. Is it similar to the Greeks, or which you mentioned rightly so, whereby you had the Titans first, and then you had the Olympian gods, right? Is it like that? So were they gods before the gods that you mentioned in this book?
There were gods before the gods. That is why it is so similar. I agree with you, Vinod, because they have this even before the Olympian gods. There was this Kronos, and there was this the father of Kronos. The grandfather before that, and they tend to be eating the children. And so they were like this feud within the family, the gods. Entities with superpowers.
Okay.
And they created legends. So right now, while they may not be worshipped or celebrated, they remain legends and they remain myths.
Okay. Now, in terms of, you have, of course, studied this topic a lot. What are some of the... How does this faith compare with modern religion? In terms of, did you find any similarities or any, in terms, like for instance, as more modern religions, most of them have books, they have, very structured infrastructure. They have books, they have history and all that kind of stuff. How does this compare to that?
Okay. No, this is just my personal opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I do believe there's this huge consciousness that is beyond everything. I think some people term it as truth. Some term him as the God of gods. Some term he's just a consciousness and he needs nothing. And there is this huge consciousness that doesn't need body, doesn't need to eat, it's just like the sun that lords over everything. It's just a consciousness. And this is a benevolent, a very kind God. I believe, I don't know, but this God, truth itself, is the embodiment of nature itself, the universe, and it's the form of reality itself, the reality that we exist in. Because we do not exist outside reality, we exist within his sphere, within his thoughts. So there was this, so there are some similarities. Yes, and then of course, there are thousands and millions and countable creations of races across the world, but some people think that it's just humans are the only souls on earth or in this universe, which I beg to differ, because I think there were stories of angels and entities as well. It's just that things you don't see because they probably operate in different frequencies. Different frequencies, wavelength and all that is different. We may see ghosts as ethereal, but the ghosts may see us as ethereal because of the vibration and the frequency and the wavelength and things like that. So they may seem like ghosts to us, but we may seem like ghosts to them. Yeah. So it's a difference. So some of the cultures similarities. Yeah, they have this different levels of realms, different. So there's one the top heaven, right? Then after right in the middle, human existence. The human realm is just right in the middle, neither good, neither bad. All right, but there are some realms that are worse than ours. Let's say way below ours. We can see because of frequency. We can see maybe the animal realm. Okay, the animal realm. We can interact with them all, but they have dull minds, and below them are the this is the. Well, the word escaped me for now, but the world of the hungry ghosts. The world of the hungry ghosts. Pretas, I think. They call it pretas, the world of the hungry ghosts, and these creatures, beings, were condemned to suffer thirst and to suffer hunger forever. So there had to be, and there's even a more frightful fate. It's not just below. It's humans right in the middle. Then you have the animals realm. Okay. Then you have this so-called hungry ghosts, the pretas, and then the way below them is the hell. They call it, some people call it the Avicii hell. Some people call it the Naraka hell. Naraka? Some of those are like, or Di, in Chinese called the Di. And this hell itself exists in different levels. There are even some they believe in 18 levels, and it's the one that's like, it's like a black hole, and there's no particle that can escape that. And that could be like you could be trapped there for forever and ever and ever. There's no escape until your karma is exhausted. So they have this thing. But above us, there's this asura, and they have this the asuras. They said the warmongering types, and then they have this they call it the realm of the gods. The realm of the gods. Those are the super beings, and they were always like that. They call it, maybe if I were to borrow the Hindu terms, they were the devas, the asuras. Also, the asuras to me are like warmongering aliens lah. Because there have been legends, there have been prophecies that these asuras they came here before, and Earth, this Earth, our human realm, is just it's just actually a realm that they are fighting over lah.
I've heard that as well.
That's very strange. The asuras.
Now, in another part of course. When, as I told you, I spent 5 years in Sarawak. And before I went there, one of the key things that people talk about when it comes to Sarawak is the charms, which you do talk about in this book.
Yes, I do.
All the jumpies. I think we in layman term, we call it jumpy, right? So, you could call it occult practices or black magic or whatever. So you mentioned about, and I've heard spells of, where people can cast spells where the person falls into a state of comatose, completely sleep and all that. I forgot what's it called, Sanka or something. I can't remember what's the name is. So what are some of the spells that you came across while writing this book?
Strangely, I've heard about the spells that created diseases, plagues, and then there are also spells that they use nails. They use nails and bones and feathers, blood, flesh. They do that, but that was like they were bound by their words to a dark god. Apparently a dark god, but I forgot the name. The name of the god. They say the morning spirit. They say for him to bestow favors upon the desperate diet at that time, because there was this drought, and he gave his conditions that hates have to roll. They started the head hunting thing where they have to make the fields fertile. And now these are just legends. These are just stories, though take it with a pinch of salt, but it's not just in the Dayak culture. Apparently, I've heard it in so many other cultures as well, about how they had to make a pact with this one to survive. And apparently then there's always a price when it comes to black magic. There's no free food. There's no free lunch.
Exactly.
There's no free lunch. You take this one. It's some using the dispersed energy of the sacrifice, the korbans and all that. Whether it's birds or they've been korban or those energies, they repurpose it to do something else that you need. So the energy is not created, it's not destroyed, it's just that.
Do you believe in that?
It's difficult because I know that energies itself can be done for good and can be done for good. It's just a human thing. Good, bad, good faith, bad faith. So bad ones, you call it probably the occult and the they would just call it, okay, that is like the sihir, is the ilmu hitam, that's white and black. But if you really look at it, they say, what is white? They say the absence of white is just black, and if there is white, so they are actually it's how our minds discriminate between light and dark. I think it's like the number is a 1 to 9. It's a number that we discriminate. The number is a 1 equals a 1 item, 2 equals all this. But in the mind of they say the one most high, will be thinking they say you discriminated the numbers by appropriating a element to it. This is how you came into being. You started discriminating with discriminating thoughts, and then probably it says, suddenly you know shame, suddenly you know this, suddenly you know that, and you came to being. You came into being, you started creation, the thing. You think, therefore you are. You started becoming, because let's just say you're driven by your thoughts. But everything, the way I see this, everything is psychic energy. Everything is, whether science has, energies that science has come to know, or energies that they have yet to know. And these are just energies, and it's neither created. And this form, even thought is a form of energy. Wavelength, even inert energy like matter, underneath the heart of the matter, you can see energy that like vibrating and all. So everything's energy, whether they're inert or not. It's just that energy.
Fair enough.
And we exist within this sphere of energy. There's nothing beyond it.
Okay. There's nothing. Okay, but in your writing, you tend to gravitate more, and just take a break from the book to focus on you as an author.
All right.
Because I must say I love writing, and I would like to be an author one day, hopefully. But your writing seems to gravitate more to the darker sides of things. You talk about ghosts. You talk, even in this book, there's a lot of mention of the dark gods. There's, it's not, it's a story that of course results in a happy ending, but in the beginning it's all dark stuff. So why? I mean, was that something that happened to you as a child? That you always gravitated to these topics?
Yes. The night fascinates me. I love the day, of course, but the night fascinates me because it hides a lot of sins, a lot of stories left untold. Because the light never shines on them. We know those stories are told in daylight. You do not know about the stories that was told, things that certain gods wouldn't want you to know because it's like the right hand and the left hand. So I thought. Let's put it this way, I don't think I can write romance. Maybe a little bit of humor to say that. Well, maybe I should try my hands at horror stories. But there's also an interesting story that I need to share with you, Vinod.
Please do.
Well, as a child, there was this incident that happened to me. Oh yes, I woke up to sounds of crying. I don't know how to say this, but it was sounds of crying. And it was this woman crying. I cannot see the face. And you say, I didn't feel fear. None at all, Vinod. I didn't feel fear. It felt as though I've known this ghost, this person before. It's one of those, I don't know, it's a deja vu. It seems like I had broken a promise to her. Then, for some strange reason, I think in one of dreams, I see faces, I see places. I see faces, see places, not of my own, but it seems like it's me, and yet it's not me, that kind of. Have I lived different lives? I thought that. Energy, let's say if humans are just form of energies never destroyed and never created, we just take different forms. Was it so difficult to understand that this energy takes different form, and therefore humans can take different life forms? It could be, let's say if we are burdened by sins, are we destined to be reincarnated or reborn as lower beings? Or let's just say if we do good, like what some religions want us to do, and we elevate ourselves to higher realities. It's all in the mind. I think, was this all a matrix of some sort? I don't know. Is this a simulation of some sort? I can't. Is this reality? Real? But it is definitely not permanent. So we change, things like that. So we say, what if we're just energy, and we ask we escalate to higher realms as higher beings? Or you could be downgraded, and just like I heard that Lucifer was an angel. He was one most high, and next thing you know, he was condemned as a demon because of his disobedience to God. So he was demonized, literally demonized. So he was cast to earth and probably took different forms as well. So there was this thing. But I also remember that he did a lot. He was God's most favored.
The most beautiful.
So he had a lot of good deeds done back then. A lot of, but he was just disobedient. So he has got a lot of good karma to sustain himself. So let's say whatever good that you have done all this time, it will still be with you. So you can imagine how immeasurably powerful this angel could have been, and it took so long. He says to prophesy his demise, which is the end of days.
Interestingly enough, in this book, one thing that I got from reading it was that I felt that the faith in this book ties very closely with the nature. It ties very closely with that. Of course, there's mention of heaven and hell, but the stories, the lore, the characters all stem from elements you find in nature. This is one, for me, I find a stark difference between modern religions, where our elements tie to entities or beings that we can't even see. It's sort of outwardly, I suppose, or if that's even a word. So, do you think that, that having such faith systems whereby they tie to the nature, they tie to spirits of the plants, of the animals, of and all this, creates an environment where people are more respectful of nature as opposed to what we have now, where everything is to the sky as opposed to what is here?
Well, I suppose man is part of nature and there's no escaping it. You say by divesting ourselves from nature, we are running away from ourselves. I think it's supposed to go back to nature, back to our elements, to our roots. And for some, I say nature is part of God. That's why He created it. He created all these things. Nature is part of reality. I think there should be some elements of respect to it because we came from it. We cannot exhaust all the gifts that we've been given. Things that we have to say. Without nature, we are nothing. Without the bees, we are nothing. Everything is a collapse. Everything is a chain reaction. If you move something, this is, for example, even this is if you step on a butterfly, you change something, you're going to create a tsunami or something. You're going to change of it. The whole reality is in a constant flux. So what religions are trying to tell you is, please do more good. Do good. So so the constant flux that you'll be destined for bigger, better things that God has envisioned for you. Things like that. If you go down, it's just like a rock in a river, and you just sink to the bottom, and and then you sink to a black hole, where there's no particular escape. So is this hell, or is this another reality? Things like that. So there's no escape. So is this the concept of eternal damnation? It's like a concept of black hole. There's no particle of light that can even escape it, and nothing can escape it until it's going to take a long time to the sun. And I made I did some research, and I say, there were like three things that could end this kind of fate. You say the murder of somebody holy. Let's just say. So if you kill even let's just say someone of higher, purer being of purer spirits and things like, let's just say Buddha or let's just say even you kill someone, Messiah of God, or there's even on the cross you are not going to escape it. That is pure. That's pure. You are never going to escape the thing. And there's also there's no escape. There's also the murder of parents, immediate. According to some of the research I made, it said the moment, let's just say if somebody had committed matricide or patricide and things like that, at the moment of death, they will be condemned immediately to hell, and there's no escape until the karma has been exhausted. I think there's some truth in it, because there's no. Apparently, say in the eyes or in the minds of the deceased, they will see hell open. Apparently, hell open immediately, they will fall. But for those more who did not commit this, they saw the so-called the cardinal sin. Those who did not commit the cardinal sin, they have a respite of 49 days. Apparently, even in Chinese, there was this time that within 49 days you take different form, or you could change a different form depending on your karmic cohesion, so that you could suddenly, like for example, I'm just saying, you could be sprouting angelic light or things like that, because you'll be bound for heaven, and you could be turning slowly in your 49 days. So let's just say if you're destined to be reborn as an animal. So because energy changes, like I said, there's energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just transform. It's just like you have light can turn into heat, can turn into kinetic energy. It's just like thought. Thought is also a form of energy. It's a wavelength, frequency, and all that kind of thing. So I thought that it's just like that. So it changes you. Thoughts changes you. Now, thoughts will change you.
Now, I mean, I love the study of religion. I've always loved it. It's always intrigued me. Different faiths, different superstition, different beliefs. In this book, the way you have painted this entire world, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, there's one part which I liked, which I won't give it away so much, but it's a journey of little Ari. Little Aji. And there is a journey that he takes right after his soul goes back into his body.
Yes.
And then he gets bestowed something very important. 3 things very important, right? And I was thinking, wow, there is an entire world here, right? And I think to myself, there's no smoke without fire, right? So and these beliefs would have existed for thousands of years. Do you think that there is truth in this, that perhaps that this world actually exists, but maybe humans for some reason because as we know, we have not studied our oceans to such great extent. We don't know what's in the ocean. And I think to another extent, we don't know so much what's in our jungles. Do you think this world exists?
Well, personally, I think they exist, because whether they agree or not, because even in their holy books, they already say, well, there is heaven, there is hell, there is you can see animals, the stories of ghosts, all this, and I'm sure there's some truth to it, like what you said. There's no smoke without fire. It's just that whether you recognize there's a fire right before your eyes, or you don't see the fire at all. So what if life forces is just energy, it's just some different forms of fire, the spark that created life itself,
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, and there must be something for a lot of cultures to actually talk about it and to practice it for so long, aeons. And even if the modern ones, the modern religions, or if they wanted to discount it, but they get caught with things. For example, I say, well, there's mention of heaven, there's mention of hell, there's mentions of the worlds that the angels came from. There's the angel there. So aren't these different worlds? The worlds is not just the physical world. There's also the other world, because the yin and the yang, the energy. Like I said, this whole concept is so vast. It's like I said, the ghost may seem like a ghost, ethereal entities to us, but to them we could be ghosts. And then for example, even this concept of reality is a concept conceived by our own mind. So for example, we see a wall, but to a ghost, that's not a wall. They can walk right through it. To us, for example, we see fire, but to something else, they will see is water. So this reality, it's not like what you see. It's conceived by your own mind. Your own mind. So what is the concept of heaven? What is the concept of hell? What is the concept of earth itself? It's just different wavelength, whether the energy has become inert, or things like that. It's just at rest. But even at rest, energy will constantly change, and it will dissolve to something else. Definitely. It will constantly be down. And this whole entire big energy, this big thought, this big reality, all this is one truth. Probably this is what all the gods, what all the other people say. There is this God, that everything else exists within him. And there is also the one very strange Hindu mythology that I came across. I don't know whether you know about this one. It's the sleeping Vishnu. A sleeping Vishnu. They say if he wakes up, all this is going to disappear. And we are all living in a dream, living in his reality. Whether you want to call him vision, whether you want to call him whatever, but it's a thought, it's this consciousness. If he wakes up, we'll disappear with the dream.
No, now, and one thing I like to, like for me as a reader, I like stories that are more centered on characters. I'm not so much on story. There are books, like for example, I remember buying this book called Dance of the Dragons, which is from Game of Thrones. Very thick book, but the book is so boring and I was so angry because firstly I said, how do you make a story about dragons and, Targaryens so boring, because the book was very story based, right? So I didn't get attached to the characters. And your book does the opposite. It's so character based, right? The story, you cannot help but sympathize with Nira. You can't help but be her champion, her cheerleader, right? Because she's going through so much and all that. And there's one god that I like, Pankas, is it? Pankas.
That is one of those birds of omen.
Birds, yeah, who keeps appearing and then helping her out, right? But in your, and you, being an author, you can envision all this. It's crazy how your mind works. Which are the characters that you like the most writing about?
This one, I love Nira, but there's one that Dayang. There's another one, the one of those ancients, the one the spirit of the death moth.
The one who always appears. Yes.
I like that.
You like.
I like. I know she's a very complex character.
Okay.
She's a very complex character because so I created the legend that she was reincarnated from, or she basically elevated herself through meditation into another being. And this creature is a dangerous creature. It's a death's moth, and of course, death's moth is does not exist anymore in the Borneo. So it existed how she died, and the whole legend, all the entire moths are no longer there.
Okay, but can you share some of the legends about her character? Because she appears, she's in fact as powerful as the Nene, the main, which you'll find out when you read the first few pages. She comes into this one, but then she gets into a fight with hantu. Pantang, is it? No, antu embuan.
There were quite a few that she got involved. That was like that girl is that creature is trouble. She fights everything. Then there's also the Maumari, the one that yes. Those are like a frenemy. If there's this concept of frenemy, is that friends and then for centuries and the enemies for another century. Things like so. These are like constant fight because both consider each other the worst of rivals and but the best of friends. So they are frenemies and you'll be constantly fighting.
Again, as I mentioned earlier on, there is a prophecy in this book. Perhaps you want to share a bit about that prophecy that sort of ties this book, the entire story.
Which prophecy? Because the
one of the, I think in the beginning it talks about how the prophecy of the end of the dark gods and how the boy is supposed to become the representative of the entire tree, or the tree. He becomes a tree whisperer.
Okay. It was prophesied by that. By one of those deities from the grove, right?
Yeah, the grove.
The grove. In the grove, that prophesied this one when no one believed him. He was just a handicapped child. All this, and he was sick. He was this one, and who knew? He came into power. He came into his destiny, and he became the tree whisperer. And he was destined to stop the war of the gods, or the clash of the titans, if you will. All this while because of all this maneuvering and all this plotting and scheming and also he put an end to it.
He did.
He put an end to it. It was just a little child. Of course, people did criticize. Say that's just a 5-year-old kid. Well, that is I'm using the fantasy license, a creative license, to write the things. Like, I mean, you want to write about hobbits, go ahead. Like little people with rabbit feet, go ahead. I'm not stopping you. So leave me to my little Archie. Leave me to my little Archie. A 5-year-old kid who came into being, into power, and to fulfill a destiny.
Nice.
And his mother is just as powerful. I like my readers to be emotionally invested into these characters. But I get this strange feeling because this novel is not driven by not so much events. It's driven by the inner emotions.
Yes, it
The
definitely.
hatred, the love, the loyalty, the exasperations, the disappointment. Basically, it's all the betrayal.
Interesting. I mean, and I do agree, because at the center of it, as I said, is a relationship between a mother and a son.
Yes.
Right? And that is something that I think tugs at everybody's heartstrings, the parental, the entire maternal nature of women. But
The relationship was the main crux of this.
it was definitely. It's like it reminded me of the movie Passion of the Christ, where it's centered around the relationship between Jesus and his mother, and that made the movie really beautiful. Same thing, his book.
Mother and child again.
Mother and child again, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
What's this with mother and child? Is that how did this concept keep coming back to me? Oh, okay.
But I mean, by writing this book, right? I mean, you have other books, but I would argue are less niche than this. What was the objective you wanted to accomplish by writing this book?
It felt like it's something that I had to do. Strange, it's one of those things that it felt like it is something that I was destined to write, and I had this strange feeling that this book is going to be big. I just don't. I hasn't materialized. It's not exactly like a blockbuster yet, but I have this strange feeling that it appeared in one of my dreams. Maybe over imagination, but I felt so. This thing say, it's going to be big, but it's just that I don't know how. I don't know how it's going to be big, because so far it's okay. It has been nominated as best fiction, but it didn't win. But it has been selected as one of for international rights by the Malaysian Council, Malaysian
Council.
Books of Council,
Book
whatever.
Council, yeah.
Also, the Book Council selected as one of the 50 best, but I don't see it as being like a blockbuster or big yet. Maybe he hasn't reached his time yet. Maybe there's something that is going to spark its fate. I don't know. But I get this strange feeling it's going to be big. I just don't know how big. Maybe it's going to be made into a movie. I don't know.
Do you have plans for that? Because when I was reading it, that's the only thing that came to my mind. I was like, this should be a Netflix movie. It's because, I mean, look, I've read many fiction books, but this book is very fast-paced. Which I like, and I think that's why it makes it ideal to be turned to a movie. But sorry, that was just something that I...
Thank you for that thought. Thank you for that thought, Vinod. Because when I first started writing this, I had this vision. I wanted to write the book to make it slightly more visual. Slightly more visual. They say that movie filmmakers can actually do. And I had this thought. I said, hey, what about this James, the one who did The Conjurer, and all this. They say, he came from Sarawak. What if he could helm this thing? And then there was I have this friend, Diane Pang, and then she approached Aichi today, and Aichi offered some money, but I say, that money is not enough to do maybe a feature movie, but it will never be a big movie on the silver screen. And then there was also another group of friends who was another friend who brought it to TV Sarawak. TV Sarawak said, okay, I've got this budget, can you do this? That sounds like an episode, because there are so many things inside that too many things inside there. It's the budget, it's not going to do justice lah. But TV Sarawak, TV Sarawak actually considered it. And then Diane Pang also brought this thing to Aichi's attention. They say there's also another one. I approach this Iron TV Media or something like that with somebody called Michael Chen. Was it Michael Chen? So I say, hey, do you think there's a potential of this being made into a movie? They say they can consider it. They can consider, because it's almost passion pictures. No, strange, the word passion comes. This passion pictures, they say, they say they have this wonderful illustrator. This is animation studio that they're doing, but they are working on another book by Gavin, I think. The things I don't know if this can be materialized as a realistic cartoon kind of thing. I don't know.
That's another way as well.
That's another
I
turn
love
it
it.
into animation, or turn it into flame, things like. At least give this book a chance.
Definitely. And you know what? I mean, I love your writing.
Thank you so
I love your
much.
writing style, and I hope I could also have you on again to talk about your most recent book.
Yes,
and all
Horror
this.
Hero.
Yeah, because as we are both Malaysian, I know Malaysians, we love horror.
Thank you.
There's
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, we all love horror. Come on, there's so many stories and all that. But lastly, I just want to get your input on this. What would a reader take out of this book after reading it?
Okay. I would want them to feel something, whether they like it or they hate it. I want them to feel something, the emotions or the drama that the mother and child have gone through. So I want them to empathize with their struggles and to see the human behind all these things. Because at the end, it's just an effort to see them and maybe to reacquaint themselves with their stories, because I think they have been abandoned for too long. He said, why don't we can celebrate stories from the Dayak law. I mean, they've celebrated Greek law, which I love as well. Plenty as well, the Chinese one, the Indians ones. Why don't you try some Malaysian one? Because I think this is a whole wealth of legends that we could tap on and say maybe to reacquaint themselves with these stories again.
Definitely. It's a lovely book, a lovely story.
Thank you, Vinod. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
That's it, folks. I mean, the book is called Abandoned Gods, and Mr. Jit Seng has written a masterpiece here. It contains a lot of stories. It's based on stories, superstitions, and a faith that I had no idea, but I think a lot of you all will not, from our lovely Sarawak state. And I mean, congratulations on writing a super book.
Thank you, Vinod. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So as always, the book is available on Gerak Budaya. So the links will be in the description of all the videos that we share. So stay tuned for that. And hope to have you on again to discuss your next books.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hope to see you again, Vinod.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
So as always, please like, share, subscribe. And if you guys have any questions, comments, can't wait to hear them. And as always, get Abandoned Gods. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.